Right now, in this reality, guys, we are here to talk about one of the most exciting and thrilling sci-fi series on streaming, Apple TV's Dark Matter. Are you ready, guys? Here to open the box on Season 2, which premieres on August 28th, is the amazing, incredible cast of Apple TV's Dark Matter. Give it up for Joel Edgerton. Joel, join us. Come on out. Jenniffer Connelly, everybody. Braga, everybody. Dayo Okeniyi, come on out. Author, creator, and executive producer Blake Crouch. Co-writer and executive producer Jacque Ben-Zekry. And executive producer Matt Tolmach.
Nice to see you, Joel. Nice to see you.
Have a seat, guys. Welcome to Comic-Con. Hey, welcome, guys. No pressure. Hall H. We have some veterans here. You've done this before, Jenniffer.
I've been here before. Happy to be back.
Always good to have you. Any newbies on the panel? Anybody? Elise, you've never been here.
Never been to Comic-Con.
How's it feel so far?
Amazing. These are the best fans. Literally. The best fans ever.
If only there was good energy in the room, right?
Yeah. I'm Brazilian. I'm all up for the energy. I love it.
All right, so there is obviously a lot to talk about, both looking back and looking ahead. We're going to start by looking back at Season 1. We're going to jump right in. Joel, look, we all loved how incredibly chaotic that finale was for Jason facing off against multiple Jasons from other realities. A normal day at work, right?
Yeah.
What was it like filming basically against yourself in those scenes at the end?
I'm great to work with. I don't know how many times I've said that joke. It was weird. I mean, one of the reasons I did the show was the very unusual challenge of getting to play multiple versions of the same character. And it really hit home in that final episode of Season 1 of doing, more than dozens of the same character and dealing with that sort of final episode. And the challenge that I'd gone in for became like a really complicated but really rewarding thing to do, as I think in Season 2 is become an even bigger thing for everyone on the cast.
Yeah. For you, Jenniffer, I'm curious, why do you think Daniela chose Jason 1 over all the other versions who claim to love her just as much?
Yeah, I think that she struggled with that question as well. It was really confusing one. But she talks about like the fact that in their lives when they were young, with all the people that different directions their lives could have gone, somehow they found each other and they met each other and they chose each other. And then somehow in this crazy scenario of all these literal other versions of her husband, that very same one found his way home to her. And she chose him again. And I think that she's someone who isn't looking for another path. She's looking for how to live the best version of the path that she's already chosen and that she loves, because she loves her husband and she's deeply committed to him and to the life that they've made together. So I guess there's something in that.
A little bit of a mind bender for an actor and from a screenwriting perspective, I would imagine. I'm curious for you, Elise, why do you think Amanda risks her life and career to help Jason 1, a version that she doesn't really even know?
I think when she meets him in Season 1, she feels in a way responsible for what's going on with him because she participated at Velocity on the creation of the box. And because this one is threatening his life, she feels responsible in a way for her friend and also for the creation that they did on the box. So I think that's why for her, the care for him and the empathy for him came first than everything.
Let's talk to Dayo. Dayo, how you doing?
Yo.
Welcome to Hall H. Good to see you, man.
Yes, sir.
Make him feel welcome, guys. Dayo, come on.
There you go. There we go. There we go.
Let's talk about Leighton's obsession. Like his obsession with the box and that absolute freedom of the multiverse nearly kills him, obviously. Do you think he genuinely believes he can build a perfect world, or is he driven by greed, or what's his motivation?
Listen, first of all, stop traffic. I can't believe I'm here right now. This is actually incredible. Comic-Con, you guys are amazing. Thank you all for coming out. Hall H is definitely a bucket list moment. I'm losing my mind a little bit, but I'll try and stay composed right now. Listen, there we go. Oh, okay. Yeah. Deep cut right there. There you go.
We're like playing it cool. We're a comic.
I know. But listen, I think this season where we find Leighton is a very interesting place. I think, there's a lot of deep diving we're doing this season. We really get to unpack why he is the way he is. I think Leighton's nexus point is, I think with Jason's character, his nexus point is whether or not he marries Daniela, you know what I mean? And that's where a lot of branches come off of. But with Leighton, it's really who raised him, you know what I mean? Is it his absentee rich parents? Is it his grandfather? Is it, him, saying, you know what, I'm just gonna relinquish my, my inheritance and go to the hills and smoke peyote and stuff like that, So what happens when all these different versions of Leighton come together, And I think that's very interesting and just delicious chaos.
I mean, I'm curious for all the actors, how do you kind of mentally prepare to switch between all the different versions of your characters? Like, what do your scripts look like? How are you kind of differentiating?
Therapy.
I always think, it might sound a little boring, but, say, for example, in my case with season 1, success, career success of Jason 2 versus a kind of feeling of Jason 1 that he's given up on his dreams and lived this sort of mundane life changes you energetically.
Yeah.
How you view the world, how what sort of pep is or not is in your step, and how you talk and relate to others. And so the adjustments weren't so much physical, cosmetic things as much as energetic things, and it felt quite clear. And I think that's a testament also to obviously the writing of it. That I think people could track very quickly. Oh, this is the world we're in, and this is a different version of a character, even though they don't look like they got a weird hairstyle or something.
Right. So another weird hairstyle would be fun to do. I mean, you might want to advocate for that.
Season 2.
Season 2, spoiler. Speaking of season 2, Blake, Jackie, Matt, let's start to spill what we can. What can we expect from season 2 of Dark Matter?
Well, first off, I'm so happy to be the version of myself that gets to be Hall H, looking out at all of you beautiful faces.
Yes.
Season 1 is based on the book, and we used every available moment, character beat we possibly could, because we weren't sure we would do another season. And when it came time to look at that blank page, it was like an endless corridor of doors, and some of them might be bad, some of them could be awesome, and it was our job to figure out how to try to level up what we had done. And imagine your home has been taken away, your job has been taken away, you've lost all of your friends, you've lost your whole world. All you have is your family. And that is where the Dessens begin in season 2. Amanda and Ryan are lost in this world together, we call it World 26, kind of exiles from their universes. The whole season is really about being alone and finding the people to embrace and help you get through life. And of course, it's bigger, it's badder, it's more emotional than season 1, and I cannot wait for you all to see it.
It's a super chill, quiet season of Dark Matter coming. Looks awesome, guys. Congratulations. August 28th. Mark your calendars, guys. Joel, Jenniffer, we've teased it a little bit, but what can you say about where the Dessens are at the outset of season 2?
At the beginning?
Yeah.
Searching, well, we're trying to after everything that happened in season 1, find some sense of normalcy. And in the spirit of the themes of the show, the sense that you can't really go back and have a do-over, as you might call it. You got to acknowledge that, absorb what's come before you, and you got to start from a new place. And then there's a sense of defining what is home, because they've got to find a place to live. And that is a question of, is family home? or is a place home, and what is home for you? So that's kind of where we start, right?
Yeah, I think that when we first see them again, they're trying to have a simple life and a quiet life, and
All doesn't go according to plan. Spoilers.
Something happens pretty quickly that foils that plan. So then they're left kind of reeling and trying to find a place where they can rebuild and take stock of who they've become because of all of this, and because of the very existence of the box and what it means, and how they can be together as a couple. How can they be in this marriage if they don't really even know who they are anymore? Right. So that's where we meet them.
So for you guys, for Blake, Jackie, and Matt, obviously season 1 dealt with the consequences of our choices and the roads not taken. Now the stakes are obviously even higher. How would you say those themes are evolving in season 2?
I mean, I think what happens in season 2 is they're faced with every choice. What happens when choices are unlimited? Who do you become? You know, the choices you make define you. I remember watching the end of the first season and literally thinking, just as like an audience member, now what?
Yeah.
Like, what are they talking about? Like, when you go home, like, now that you know that you can go anywhere and do anything, who do you become? What is your life? What are the choices you're going to make now? And that was such a daunting and amazing challenge for the story.
Yeah, I agree. And I would also say one of the things that we really wanted to talk a lot about was, you know, that question, the endless question. The road not taken is a very common question. Another question is it nature versus nurture? Am I who I am because of the things that have happened in my life, and because of the people in my life, and or something written in my DNA and genetic memory? And in this season, it's really fun to put our characters together and meet themselves. And it's kind of a fun thing to play with, like, who am I when you take away all of these other actions? What do we have in common? What makes us different? And, you know, I don't know if you guys have had this experience. Have you met someone like you and found them to be extremely annoying? I know that it's happened because, right, yeah, you and I. Yeah. But I think it's one of those situations where what happens when you meet yourself? Do you love yourself, or do you find yourself hating yourself? And that's a really fun thing to play with, and to watch our actors, who are just extraordinary, portray and live that theme out loud for all of us to think about when we're at home.
Joel got to have a lot of fun playing against himself in season 1. And the theme of identity is such a big part of season 2. And we thought, we have such a tremendous cast, and without giving spoilers, a lot of these folks get to have some scenes against themselves, and that is just a blast to watch unfold.
It's also, I mean, you kind of alluded to this. I mean, like, your characters, Jason and Danielle, are handling such extraordinary psychological stress. I mean, knowing that your new reality could be disrupted at any moment, that's a big a weight. Can you talk a little bit about how that weighs on your characters this season?
Being also disrupted by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, one of the great conundrums of the show is, particularly when they're looking for a world to live, is finding a world where the other versions of them either are not there, don't exist in some form, and they're not going to encroach guiltily on someone else's life or be found out, and that has to go for every member of the family, not just me, not just her, not just the two of us, but also the son, Oaks, you know, right. Charlie, the son. I'll tell you what's weird. As an actor, quite often you go to work and you go, oh, I've been through this, or I can imagine this, or I know loss, you know, I know grief, I know happiness, I know love. But there's so many things that get served up to you as an actor in this show that you go, this will never happen in my life. When am I mean, unless I'm on LSD.
You go method always, right? Yeah.
Chat with myself.
Talk more about that.
I do talk to myself a little bit, but we'll deal with that another.
That's another panel, yeah. Anything you want to add, Jennifer, or no?
Yeah, I guess I think one of the things I really like about the show is how we have people exploring, like, things that we can all relate to as people in really extraordinary ways, you know? And I think one of the things that I really enjoyed that Blake and Jackie explored in this for my character was, you know, like a lot of us in life kind of recreate situations that maybe we haven't quite resolved, you know, from our past. And we recreate those dynamics in new relationships moving forward. And I think that happens for Daniela in a way she never could have anticipated, and in a quite extreme and extraordinary way, where things that she's seeing in her husband, I think are, you know, reminding her of things that she experienced in her childhood. And I thought that was a really interesting way to again, explore very real things that all of us as humans go through in this spectacular circumstance.
Yeah, at the end you have to ground it, obviously, even as fantastical as it gets, and that's why this show works, I think. I mean, exceptional actors, exceptional writing, and grounding it in a human truth, right? For you, Elise, I mean, the trailer we saw, some glimpses of Amanda outside of utopian Chicago. Can you tease us a little bit about what it's been like for her in her chosen destination now, and how it impacts her in season 2?
She's living in a very utopian world, which is so-called the perfect world because everything works, there's no climate change, it is, everyone has empathy. But at the same time, we find her struggling to belong to a world that is not hers. And like they were saying about all these characters, trying to figure out what is home. Exactly. Is it a physical space? It is the people that you love. And we find her struggling with that a little bit. And the encounter with Brian, I think, fills up a void in her. And that friendship brings her to a crazy journey that we saw a little bit on the teaser.
Just a tease,
Yeah,
just a little bit.
But just compliment one thing very quickly, what they said, what I love about Blake's work, which the fans here probably are a big fan of science fiction and of Blake's work, is that he writes science fiction in such a character-driven way, exactly what Jen said and Joel, that I think season 2 is a lot about that. It's so human, even though there's so much action and so much, you know, craziness going on, you're really going through a journey inside these characters. I think they're going not on a journey between worlds, but also within themselves to understand who they are and how they can survive with this technology.
So, Blake teased this a little bit, but I'd love to hear from you, Dayo, a little bit about the other variants of Leighton we're going to get to see this season.
Yeah, man. I think season 1 was around a lot of the what is going on, and I think season 2 is kind of like why is it going on, and I think with that being, you know, the mandate, you get to really dive deep into each of these characters and what led them up to where we found them in season 1. I think Joel had mentioned that, you know, in season 1, you see the family dynamic earlier on in the first episode, and then Daniela and Jason are separated till the end of the season. So for this show, you really get to see what that family is. And so with Leighton, you get to see, you know, what makes this guy tick. You know, why is he so all in on making this box work? And, you know, when you start having conversations, you know, Blake and Jackie and I met, and we just talked about making him as specific as possible. You know, I'm half Nigerian, half Kenyan, and I grew up in America, and there's an immigrant story there. It's like, okay, what if Leighton had a little bit about that? And, you know, he's in this 1% of the 1% of the wealthy, and he's, you know, the CEO of this company. Those are big shoes to fill and a lot to carry on his shoulders. And so legacy, you know, he's carrying the legacy of his family on his shoulders. And, you know, that's motivation for people to say, you know what, the end justifies the means kind of a thing. And if this is a character who's driven that way, and his other variants have the similar, you know, this addictive traits, you know, maybe it's one is heathenistic and it's all about, you know, alcohol or sex or religion, you know, how do they push that ambition into separate things that they're about, you know? So if you have a Leighton who's more of like a spiritual guy and he pushes that to the nth degree, you got a cultish kind of Leighton going on, and you got a tech CEO, billionaire, you know, we don't care what the technology is gonna bring out of people, we gotta push it, you know? I mean, we're dealing with AI today, you know, and that kind of thing of we don't care what the ramifications are in the next 10, 20 years, like just, you know, short-term gain, short-term gain, short-term gain, what does that Leighton look like, you know? Or, you know, when all those different versions of him come together, it's beautiful chaos.
You've got a unique opportunity here because you've got all your showrunners, your writers here. For the actors, you can pitch anything you want, any world you want to see, put them on the spot. You got 7,000 friends here to put them on the spot. What do you want to see?
Can I yell some for them so they can give ideas?
We need an animated episode, like a manga. You know what I mean? Like a
Animated or all the
Yeah.
characters in space. There's a parallel universe in space.
what was that?
Sold.
Huh? Looney Tunes.
Looney
version.
Tunes.
Absolutely.
That's good.
This is where it's born today.
A Disney version. There you go.
Maybe we need to take the box somewhere else, like Brazil.
I see what you're doing here.
Yeah.
I see.
Via
That.
Sydney.
Can we please a universe that is Brazil? Hot, much hotter than Chicago.
Chicago.
I love Chicago, but I have to say, as a Brazilian, that's
We love Chicago,
very
but
cold.
we love Brazil too.
Okay, hey, season 3 in Brazil. We'll see you guys there. Sadly, that's as much as we can tease today. A huge thank you to this amazing panel. Make them feel
No, thank you.
welcome. Thank you for coming, guys. Joel, Jenniffer, Elise, Dayo, Blake, Jackie, and Matt, thank you for joining us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Give it up, guys, for the amazing cast creators of Dark Matter, everybody. Dark Matter 2 premieres next month, August 28th on Apple TV. Let's hear it one more time for this amazing cast and the creators. Dark Matter, everybody. Look, whether you're on board with Dark Matter now or later, trust me, get in on it now because it is a great show. And as you can see from that teaser trailer, it's epic in every way and it has one of the best ensembles on TV.